So, in preparing for my dad's celebration of life, I've been reading poetry. And I wanted to share this poem with you from Mary Oliver. Such singing in the wild branches. It was spring, and finally I heard him. Among the first leaves, then I saw him clutching the limb. In an island of shade, with his red-brown feathers, all trim and neat for the new year. First, I stood still and thought of nothing. Then I began to listen. Then I was filled with gladness, and that's when it happened. When I seemed to float, to be myself a wing or a tree, and I began to understand what the bird was saying, and the sands in the glass stopped for a pure white moment, while gravity sprinkled upward like rain rising. And in fact, it became difficult to tell just what it was that was singing. It was the thrush, for sure, but it seemed not a single thrush, but himself and all his brothers, and also the trees around them, as well as the gliding, long-tailed clouds in the perfectly blue sky. All of them were singing. And of course, yes, so it seemed. So was I. Such soft and solemn and perfect music doesn't last for more than a few moments. It's one of those magical places wise people like to talk about. One of the things they say about it that is true is that once you've been there, you're there forever. Listen, everyone has a chance. Is it spring? Is it morning? Are there trees near you? And does your own soul need comforting? Quick then, open the door and fly on your heavy feet. The song may already be drifting away. Can we settle back in to those sensations of those fleeting moments that are always here? That if we're willing and open enough, we can step back into to be nurtured. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. May we remember, may we find again that song, that awakened stillness. Namaste. Okay, today I'd like us to begin on the floor with a little pillow if you need one under your head. And we'll begin with some core work and awakening. Please have a yoga strap and a yoga block. And from here, we're going to move upward into standing poses. But I want us to take our core with us. So please lie down in constructive rest with your knees bent and heels aligned with your sit bones. And just begin by gently nodding, tailbone towards earth and tailbone towards sky. And as you nod your pelvis, let the gaze turn inward, pratyahara. And feel How the moving pelvis has an effect on the spine on the shoulders and the skull. How the moving pelvis changes pressure in the feet, action in the knees, in the hamstrings, and in the buttocks. How it's all interconnected. And then begin gentle somatic walking, pressing into the right foot and gently lifting the right hip, and then switching to the left, the knees moving out over the toes, and the breath. Fluid breath as you gently rock the pelvis and reach the knees forward over the toes, like you're sauntering through the forest on a wide path. And as you saunter, can you think of those times where one bird's song became the song of the sky and the clouds and yourself? When you were carried away by that song, and even as the song left, you were still there in awe. And how that experience is a part of your being, even as you lie here with your pelvis rocking back and forth, gently nurturing the body and inviting the spine to relax and open. And can this remembering, which one of my teachers talked about as putting ourselves back together again. If we think of a limb, an arm or a leg as a member, we are remembering. Remembering our own wholeness and our place in the family of things. And then let your pelvis become still and float one leg up to tabletop, which is shin parallel with the floor, and the other up to join it. And open your knees as wide as your shoulders and let your heels come together. And then keeping your knee at a right angle, let your shins be at this angle and toe dip one foot towards the floor 2/3 of the way, and then exhale it back up and toe dip the other foot and exhale it up. And invite your shoulders to stay broad and grounded. And invite your low front ribs not to flare skyward. Reaching your tailbone long, but maintaining your neutral lumbar curve. We gently toe dip the legs and wake up the psoas. Shoulders stay broad, they don't need to help us. Head grounded, gaze perpendicular to the floor. And then let's reach our hands around our knees and circle the knees wide and back together again. Feel into the rocking hips and the moving femurs. Into the breath. And how even the coordination and movements of the body can bring us to those places of song. Let's circle the legs the other way. And draw the right leg in and lengthen the left leg out at a 45-degree angle. Right hand or left hand on the inner right knee, right hand on the outer ankle. And then we switch, and the outside hand goes to the ankle, and the inside hand goes to the knee. And we switch, and we switch, and we lengthen the leg out of the core. And we still let the head and shoulders rest back. And we feel into how the legs connect into the low abdomen so that we can integrate our bodies and our practice. Let's flex the feet and reach out with the heel. Stretch the calves into the back of the knee. Even as we work the core, we open the fascia. And then let's hug both knees in and reach the hands and feet for the sky and touch the heels together and zip up the inner thighs and take the wrists away from the ankles as far as is comfortable for you. Keeping your lumbar curve, but the low back rib ring grounding. We circle the arms, the heels stay together, and we hug the knees in towards the chest. And then we can reach out to that point of control where we can keep our neutral lumbar curve and circle the arms and hug the legs in. And we reach and we circle and hug. And we do this with grace and strength. Even if we can only do it a few times, we just gently reach out. We circle and hug. And then we take deep breath into the abdomen as we circle the knees together and feel the perimeter of the sacrum. Good morning, sacrum. Good morning, SI joints. Good morning, moving lumbar spine. And we take the circles the other way. And we really let the gaze be inward. And we recognize sensations, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. We feel for them all in the course of the practice. And then let's take the legs up overhead, right leg overhead, left leg long towards the foot of the mat, and just very gently pulse, just an inch of movement, and switch, pulse, pulse. And the legs switch and feel how the legs are integrated into your low abdomen. Relax the shoulders and feel for how the legs are integrated into the abdomen, to the spine, and how the shoulders grounding you can help support the movement of the legs. See if your jaw and eyes can relax as the lower core turns on and wakes up. Flexing the feet, still pulse, pulse. If the front knee needs to bend because the hamstrings are tight, that's okay. Pulse, 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 pulse. We strengthen our will. We strengthen first, second, third chakra awareness. And then bring the legs together and gently bend the knees and float the hands, one on top of the other behind the head, cupping the head, and exhale. Lift the right elbow and lengthen the right leg. And then switch, left elbow, left leg, and switch. Let the head be heavy in the hands, nestling into the hands. And as the elbow lifts, feel the shoulder blade lift the back ribs. Feel how your obliques are turning on now. These are the muscles of side bending and twisting that we will be using quite a bit today. We reach the right ribs towards the left hip pointer and the left low ribs towards the right hip pointer. Side bending and twisting. But we keep the spine long, especially those of us that have osteoporosis, and we reach the elbow towards the sky, not towards the opposite knee, so that we don't crank the neck, we don't crank the upper spine. We keep it long as we work the obliques. And we reach with both the elbow and the toe. Good morning, obliques. Thank you for holding us together, for allowing us to twist into side bend, and for putting the brakes on these twists and side bends so our spines stay healthy. We come back to center and release the head and float one foot to the floor and then the other. Good morning, front abdominals. Bringing the humerus bones right next to the body, palms facing each other across. If you have a pillow in, take it out and float the pelvis skyward. And float it back down to just barely touch the floor, and inhale the lift and exhale the release. Feel the soles of the feet on the floor, the heels, the big toe ball mounds, the pinky toe ball mounds. Feel your connection through to earth through the arms, the back of the head, the shoulder girdle. Feel how The torso from the pelvis through the low ribs floats up and releases down. And lift it skyward and pause. And then just pulse the pubic bone towards the sky. Gentle pulses. Sit bones may be hugging towards each other a little bit, activating the glutes to pulse the pubic bone up and lengthen the psoas pathway. We were just working with the early abdominals. Broad shoulder girdle, strong arms into the earth. And then pause here and lift just the right hip higher than the left, pressing more into the right foot, and then switch. So your somatic walking comes into the bridge. And with one buttock, you lift that hip. And with the other buttock, you lift that hip. And we do gentle twisting of the spine as we strengthen the back body, the hamstrings and the buttocks and the low back working. Good morning, hamstrings. Good morning, glutes. Good morning, muscles of my back and my shoulder girdle. See if you can smile to these parts of the body that are doing this work for you. And pause at center and hug your sit bones together. Feel the glutes and then relax the sit bones. And hug and relax and hug and relax and then roll down. One vertebrae at a time. Good morning, spine. And we roll tailbone towards earth and then tailbone towards sky and peel the sacrum off. Peel the lumbar vertebrae off. Peel up to the shoulder girdle, taking a deep inhale. And then exhale, softening. One vertebrae at a time, releasing back towards the floor. And then we inhale, natural lumbar curve. And we exhale, tailbone towards sky, and we peel the spine back off. Take a deep inhale at the top. And exhale, roll back down, releasing the spine. Yes. Fluid breath. Moving with our own breath, inhaling at the top and exhaling the release of each bead of the spine onto the floor. Coming back down into our neutral curve. Take your feet as wide as the mat and arms up overhead and let the knees fall off to the left and stretch from the right hand through the right knee, through the pelvis. This is your psoas pathway, right down to the inner knee. You may feel the fascia connect even into the inner arch of your right leg. Feel it up through the pelvis and along the spine. The psoas pathway of myofascia. And then exhale the knees to center, take an inhale, and exhale the knees off to the right, stretching the left side. Good morning. So we strengthen the psoas pathway, then we lengthen that inner fascia so that a strong psoas doesn't overly compress the vertebrae of the low back. And then we come back to center. And let's lift our right ankle up over the left femur. And exhale, draw the legs in, either foot onto a block or legs in towards the chest. And gently rock the legs back and forth. Back and forth, pausing wherever the stretch feels appropriate for you. Keep the top leg, the foot, keep it flexed to protect the knee. And breathe deeply into the tissue of the hip. You may like the rocking and stick with it, or you may like pausing and breathing deeply into the tissue. Recognize what feels right to you. Allow yourself to be there in the movement and sensations. Investigate it with gentle curiosity. And then see, can the breath and your awareness be kind and nurturing? As you hold the stretch, you don't strain too hard. You invite the parts of the body that don't need to be working as hard to relax. We save our vitality. We irrigate the body with breath. And release this side. Bringing left ankle over right femur, opening the left knee. And as we're ready, hugging the legs in towards the chest. We rock gently. Now you may wrap your fingers around the back of your femur bone, or some of you may have the flexibility to wrap around your shin. Some of you may be tight enough that you use a TheraBand or a yoga strap around the leg so that you don't jet your chin skyward and shorten the back of your neck. You can bring your pillow back in if you like. In fact, I'm going to do that. Long neck, relaxing the hyoid bone back. And pausing in the stretch if you'd like to. Making sure the tissue can relax a little on the exhales so the body can remember the stretch. Fluid, irrigating breath. Relaxed eyes and jaw. And then a gentle release of the feet back to the floor. Come back to your somatic walking and notice if there's been any change in your awareness of the low body. Any more warmth. Any opening. And then gently roll onto your sides. And if you have a pillow, you can fold it again and maybe even fold it again to support your head in a neutral, comfortable position. Your arm can be perpendicular to your body, or you could have your arm long and have the blanket rest over your arm. And we come into a clamshell position. I'm going to invite you to lift your feet off the floor and open the top knee and close it and open it and close it. So these are clamshells. And you may begin to feel like you're working these deep hip muscles in the upper leg as it opens and closes. Here comes Izzy. Hi. Feel into that working of the hip. One thing that's really helped my yoga practice is Pilates awareness. And in Pilates, the powerhouse of your body starts at the inner thigh and includes this buttock and these deep hip muscles that we're strengthening. Goes up through the pelvic floor all the way to the lowest ribs. And then closing the knee, release the feet to the floor. And keeping the hips where they are, lengthen the legs out at a 45-degree angle from the body. So they're not straight down the mat. They're in the same angle your femurs were in clamshell position. And float the top leg up and then float it back down and float it up and down. And see if you feel into those deep hip muscles, strengthening the powerhouse. We're also warming up these hip muscles so that when we come into twists, we may be able to align our pelvis more comfortably. And then point your toe and circle, little soccer ball sized circles. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Take it the other way. One thing I love about Pilates is that he believed in fluid animal-like motion, so you don't do 25 reps of each thing. And now kick your leg forward and flex it and draw it down like you're standing on the heel, and kick the top leg and release it down. And try not to have your lumbar spine follow the moving femur bone, even if that means you don't kick as far forward. So we begin to differentiate the femur in the hip socket, which will also help us open into our yoga poses and stabilize them. And one more time. And then as the foot comes low down the mat, think of someone tractioning your leg and really lengthen the leg out of the pelvis. Let it stretch out of the pelvis. And then release. Bend your knees back into the clamshell position. And come up onto your forearm, elbow under your shoulder, and inhale. Lift the side bodies into a rainbow as you bring the arm over, and exhale the hands back down. And lift with this underside body, the upper side body, and exhale. And then inhale, press into your shins and see, can I lift my pelvis off the floor into a side plank and lower? And these rainbows may be where you want to stay because it doesn't keep the pressure on the shoulder too long. Even now, though, you are strengthening the lower side body. So we're going all the way around the core. If we just strengthen the front, then if you imagine a telephone pole, we only have one guide wire holding the pole up. It's probably going to fall over. We then strengthen to the back. Now we're strengthening the sides. So let's inhale up, and maybe we can pause in the lift. And you're in a side plank. You can stay here or lower your hips, lengthen the legs, step the top foot perpendicular and lift into a side plank. You can stay here or you can stack your feet. Find the plank that's right for your body, where you're working yourself, but you're not over-efforting, you're not demanding too much of your shoulder. You're strengthening that lower side body, though, to support the spine. You can take the upper arm overhead and really stretch the upper side body long. And then lift back up and lower the pelvis. And we'll switch sides. So you can use a blanket as a pillow, or you can bend your arm and put your head on your hands. This isn't comfortable for some people. So don't feel like you have to do it. Feel free to use the pillow. Come back into your clamshell position and lift the feet. And then we open the top knee and close, open and close. And you may feel like, okay, I am bringing some good awareness to these deep hip muscles. Strengthening my abductors. Becoming aware of the adductors on your inner thighs. So the way I learned these is the adductors add together when you pull your legs together. The AB, as in boy, abductors help you lift the leg away from the other leg, help you in external rotation. One more. And then lengthen your legs out at the angle of your femur bone, so they're out at an angle like kind of a kickstand, and then float the top leg up. So I'm just trying to get us really aware of all these deep muscles of our powerhouse today, and see if that helps stabilize and helps us become more open in these muscles in our twists. And then release the foot down and circle. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then kick the top leg forward, flex the foot, and draw it down. Try to keep your lumbar spine in a neutral curve, so the leg moves independently inside the pelvis. It doesn't take the pelvis for a ride. And notice what it is you're feeling. Sensations. Pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And now reach the top leg long down the mat. Stretch it out of the pelvis, lengthening all of that musculature. And release, coming onto your hands and knees. And inhale your cow. And exhale your cat. Now I'd like us to do one more awareness strengthener for the spine before we come up and begin doing our standing poses today. And this one's going to take a block, and we're going to place the block underneath our right shin, and we're going to float the left shin next to the right shin off the block. And then you're going to lower the left shin towards the floor, and you don't even have to touch the floor, and then lift the pelvis back up to level. So it's a very small motion. Your wrists are under your shoulders. They could be a little wide of your shoulders. You're lowering the shin and lifting, and lowering the shin and lifting. Oh, sorry, I forgot side planks. Katie's doing it. We can come back to that. Lower your shin and lift. Lower your shin and lift. So this exercise right here is strengthening your stabilizers, your multifidi, in your spine. This should also help you support the poses we're coming into. So we lower the shin and lift. We just come back up to neutral. And these stabilizers, when you lower the leg, they're like, wait, hold on, she's dropping this leg. I'm going to try to keep that leg lifted and supported. Now come back up and lift your foot towards the sky. Knee bent and press the foot skyward. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now lengthen the leg out and lower the toes towards the floor and lift the heel just as high as the buttock and lower. So you're not coming into a back bend. We're still using the stabilizers, but your obliques have to turn on in this asymmetrical work too. Lift the heel and lower the toes. Feel how the outer hip of the standing leg is also working. And then release. And take the block now under your left shin. And bring your hands out. And lower your right shin towards the floor. And lift. And it doesn't even have to go all the way down. Shins come back to parallel, and then you lower and lift. Lower and lift. Really feel into your body. Try to get to know the moving parts here, and also the parts that are resisting movement. Really feel deeply in towards your spine, into your abdomen. This is the practice of pratyahara. It's the practice of dhyana and dharana, meditation and concentration. Meditating on the movement. Come back up and lift the sole of your foot towards the sky and press. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then straighten that leg and lower the toes towards the floor. Lift the heel just as high as your buttock. And lower and lift. And lower and lift. And again, what is working in your body? And then lift and pause. Feel the work and release. Let's come back down on our second side and not forget our side plank. So we'll come back into that clamshell position and do a few rainbows. And you can rainbow without even lifting the pelvis, and feel the lower side body lift the upper side body. And then if you'd like, lift the pelvis off the floor. I may have avoided this because of my shoulder ski injury. My shoulder only wants to go this far, but if you'd like to go farther, then you lift and you hold your plank. And if you'd like to go farther, you straighten the bottom leg and step the top leg over and lift into your side plank. That's okay for me. And then if you'd like to go farther, you stack your feet. That will not be okay for me on this side. So you do what's best for your body. And I go back to my gentle rainbows. Fluid breath. This is really good practice for me because I want to be able to teach and guide you, but I'm going to control myself. Feeling into my shoulder for what's best. Fluid breath. That's part of the nurture practice. And release. And roll onto your hands and knees one more time. And inhale your cow and pause. Lengthen tailbone away from top of head, really stretching the abdominals we worked today. It's very important to stretch the muscles you worked so they don't get too compressing on the lumbar spine. Now come into your hissing cat, pressing your hands away from your knees. We also want to stretch these muscles in the back of the spine. And if you'd like a little more stretch, take your sit bones towards your heels. Breathe into the low back body. Congratulate yourself for strengthening your core all the way around the spine. Come back up into your tabletop and roll up into your downward dog. And walk your dog. Fluid breath. And you can stay with this or float one leg up behind you straight back. You can stay with this or come into a twist by bending the knee and taking the foot back to the side behind it. Press the sole of the foot back and keep the shoulder girdle broad, coming into a dog at the fire hydrant twist. The leg is lifted, but the shoulders don't collapse towards the side you're twisting away from. And then exhale, release the lifted leg and float the other leg up. You can stay here or bend the knee and press the foot back behind you. Stay strong in the back shoulder. Lift that armpit. Fluid breath into the twist and feel how you're opening from the lifted leg, inner thigh, through the pelvis to the spine. Fluid breath. And then release back into your downward dog and walk your dog. All the while building upper body bone density. We walk the feet towards the hands and bend the knees. And bring the belly and the rib cage right onto the femurs. For some people that might be blocks under the hands here. For some people, you'll be able to lift the sit bones towards Uttanasana and let the spine dangle. Now, for every few inches the belly comes away from the spine, the more likely you are to compress lumbar discs. So knees bent, belly on the femur bones, and a lift from the sit bones is a safer way to actually stretch the hamstrings. If you feel the stretch too high up by the insertion point, by the sit bones, then bend the knees again. You want to feel the stretch in the meat of the hamstrings. Fluid breath. And the knees bending out over second metatarsals. Unhinge the pose. Float up. Reach for the sky. Interlace your fingers, thumbs to the base of the skull. Lift the elbows. Root the tailbone and rest into your standing back bend. And then unfurl the arms, stretching through the fingertips. And exhale. Hands to the heart. Release your arms. And tune into the breath. Fingers relaxed. And bring in your blocks for sun salutations. And inhale, reach for the sky. And exhale, Utkatasana, fierce pose. Bring the hands right to the heart and inhale, lengthen the spine. Rooting the feet, stable knees. Exhale, twist one direction gently and inhale to center. Exhale, twist the other. So as we begin opening into the twist, we don't take it into the farthest twist. So we don't have to take the elbow across to the opposite leg yet. But feel how as you twist, you're changing the position of your intestines and your kidneys, your stomach and your liver. You're asking for a kind of compression and release. Healthy for the body. Come back to center, fingertips to the blocks. Inhale, lift your heart. Step your right foot back. Coming into high lunge. Lower the back heel and float yourself up into your Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, down to the heart center. And inhale. And exhale. Find a gentle lift to the pelvic floor, even as you root the four corners of each foot. Stable lower body. Open your arms and rest your gaze out over the front fingers and bring the back hand around. Follow the hand with your gaze as you bring it back. And inhale the back hand forward and exhale it back. And feel this twisting of your spine as you follow the hand with your gaze. Now, if it's too much of a twist, make the circle smaller just right in front of your heart. Can the front knee stay stable and open over the second metatarsal as the arms move? Float the back arm back and watch the fingertips gently land on the back leg as the front arm lifts, dancing warrior. And invite the strength you woke up in the core to become conscious. Feeling up the length of your spine, the muscles you awakened in the core to support the spine. Relaxing the shoulders and lengthening the neck. Straighten the front leg and come in towards your high trikonasana. So now we're stretching the hips open, lengthening the spine, warming up. Perhaps the top arm lengthens out over the head, long arm over the ear. Fluid breath. Rooting from the pelvis down. Can you feel into your side planks here? Lengthening along the low side of the spine, all the way up through the side of the neck. And float yourself back up. Lift the back heel. Come into your high lunge again. Blocks on medium if you're using blocks. Step back plank. And rock across the toes. And roll back into your downward dog. Then float the right leg up behind you and step it forward. Lower your back heel so that you can float up into your Virabhadrasana 2. Turn the palms up and inhale. And exhale, draw energy right down the long, tall spine. Planting the legs, we learn to keep the lower body stable. So that work we did in the glutes, we use to stabilize the pose. And then we tune into the breath entering the body. And we exhale, resting the arms open as if they were resting on water. And we circle the back fingertips forward and we follow them back with the gaze. And we begin to feel for that song in the body where stability meets with fluid motion, where even inside of all of it, there's a stillness and there's also a hum. Watching the back fingertips touch the back leg, we lift the front palm, dancing warrior, and we rest the shoulders away from the ears, and we rest into the pose, where inside of this inner landscape is there the song. And we float up, straightening the front leg, and we cartwheel gently into our trikonasana. We may need to take the back heel back a little farther, or rearrange the front foot slightly. We check in that the knees aren't hyperextending, and that from this pelvis and this core we woke up, we can shine out the length of the spine and down into the raise of the legs. Perhaps we bring the top arm over the ear, stretching both side bodies long. Really feel into your side planks here as support. Fluid breath. And then we float back up into our star pose. Lift the back heel, float down onto the blocks and step back plank. And roll across the toes. And perhaps lower to the knees, lift the heels, lift the heart, and take the lower jaw forward of the upper jaw to stretch the neck and throat. We want the myofascia open and long before we twist, so that the spine can be long and open, so we don't overcompress the discs or the vertebrae. Roll back, child's pose. Reaching your fingers either over the chair seat or over the blocks so that you can really lengthen the fascia in the armpit and the shoulder and the spine. You may feel fascia from your shoulder blades down to your pelvis tight. Breathe into it. Invite it to open. Invite the breath to move through the tissues like wind moves through the branches of the trees. Invite that song into the body. then floating back up to downward dog. Bend the knees and take your sit bones long, really lengthening the spine. Breathe deep into the back body. Step your feet forward, heels aligned with sit bones, bend the knees, hands to the heart, Utkatasana. Inhale, lengthen, exhale your twist, keeping the legs solid. Use those outer hips and those inner thighs. We woke up with the side-lying leg work. Feel into how your musculature supports you twisting and unwinding. These same muscles put the brakes on the twist and they invite the twist. Can you feel them working? And feel how they help you twist the intestines and gently squeeze the organs, keeping lymph flowing, keeping digestive contents flowing. We come back to center and let's lift the blocks or one block up beneath the head. Place your right hand on the block and left hand floats beside. And float the left shoulder blade up onto the back body. You're already using your obliques in this asymmetry. Root into both feet and see, can you lift the top wing? Coming into your twist. Feel into the body what's working. Where can you invite stretch and opening? Both in the kind of outer musculature and in the internal contents of your abdomen. And then exhale, release the hand, the left hand to the block and right wing. Right shoulder blade floats strong onto the rib cage. And then we lift, so we're not throwing the wrist behind the shoulder. We're using that shoulder blade on the back ribs to help us open. Keeping the knees solidly forward. We use the musculature of the hip to stabilize the pelvis. Fluid breath. And then exhale, release. Take your blocks back into position and inhale, hands to the heart. Come to standing and reach the arms skyward. Rooting the tailbone, lift the low back ribs. Come into your version of a standing back bend. Or root through the heels, root the tailbone, lift the low back rib ring. Lengthen the spine all the way up into the head and through the crown chakra. And then exhale. Hands to the heart. Release and pause in your mountain pose. Fluid breath. Feel for your pulse, for heat moving through the inner landscape. Feel for that song of the thrush inside the forest of your body. And then let's reach for our chair and come to sitting. Now open your legs wide, bringing your sit bones to the front of your chair. Bring your blocks down so that when you hinge forward, the blocks will be beneath your face. And then come back up to sitting. And lift the right arm alongside the right ear and stretch towards the left. Press down with the left hand so you lengthen this left side body before you may come to your forearm. Some of you may actually reach for a block and bring your hand down to the block inside the leg, stretching both side bodies long. Breathe sky between the vertebrae. Even the vertebrae on the left side, lengthen the left side body. We have that side strength capacity. And then lifting the pelvic floor, activating your core, maybe with an exhale, float yourself back up to center. Right hand to femur, left arm alongside the ear. Press down into the left femur the right femur to lengthen the right side body, and then perhaps come lower. We're inviting sky between the vertebrae. We're breathing a plumpness to the discs of the spine, and some of you may come lower to a block on the inside of the right leg. Fluid breath. And then we exhale, activating the core back to center, and bring our hands down to the blocks right beneath the face, and place the left hand on the block. Float the right wing, shoulder blade onto the back body. Long spine here. Lengthen the spine first, and then lift the right wing. Keep the left knee open. Keep the left knee open, stabilizing the pelvis, and then broad across the wingspan. Long in the spine. Can you still keep space in the discs, space between the vertebrae? And exhale. Release the hands back to the blocks. Now the blocks could be on any height here. You could be on high, medium, low. Inhale, the left shoulder blade onto the back. Right knee stays open over the second metatarsal as we lift the left arm. Broad across the shoulder girdle. We don't throw the wrist behind us and pop the humerus forward in the rotator cuff. We stay well aligned. We're more likely to feel that song through the body if we align the body well and don't injure it. Integrate the shoulders and then spread the wings. Integrate the shoulders and spread the wings. And then exhale, release your wing. Take the blocks wider than your shoulders and forward, and come into your Uttanasana Konasana forward fold. The knees don't follow you in. Stay strong in the four corners of your feet, reaching the blocks forward. Let your pelvis traction back onto the seat, and breathe, opening into the myofascia. And you may again rock across the body from one shoulder to the other, inviting a gentle stretch way back into the pelvis. You can do this low. Some of you may be able to come all the way fingertips to the floor. I recommend staying on fingertips instead of palms so that you can lift the palm and therefore lift the inner armpit. And if you're up on blocks and you're not quite that flexible, you can still be long, high, with the shoulders even with the pelvis. Breathing a lift to the lower spine, the front spine, and length out of the pelvis. And then wherever you are, we walk the blocks back and unhinge and take the legs around to the right. Inhaling the hands to the heart. Or ground the feet and sit bones, and inhale up the spine. Exhale into your twist. Feel for the obliques working in your side bodies. Stabilize from the outer hips and bring the right hand to the outside of the left femur. Left arm open. Guide with the left shoulder blade. And even look out the far left corners of your eyes. And then invite in your awareness of the breath to massage the body open in the twist. Feel how your obliques can both activate the twist and put the brakes on. You could let yourself out of the twist a little to feel for what muscles bring me out of the twist and stop. How do I turn on the stopping as well as the twisting? Fluid breath. Investigating the inner body. Let's exhale and unwind. Can we allow ourselves to be here a moment just with sensations? Pulses, life force energy. Take the legs around to the other side, and inhale a lift to the heart, and exhale a slow twist to the right. Back of left hand against right femur. Right shoulder blade onto the back ribs. Right arm opening. Can the head rest back as the eyes look out the far right corners? Invite in a three-dimensional breath into the torso. Feel the sensations of this pose in this lifetime, in this moment. And ask yourself, is this the right position for me, or can I fine-tune it a little bit? Perhaps I let myself out of the pose slightly. And I let the breath massage the body open. And then we exhale and unwind. And sit forward on the chair with one hand resting inside the other, thumbs touching. We tune into the breath. We tune into the song. And let's come to standing and bring the chair or the block back to the left side of the mat. And then step so that you're facing the short end of your mat, and take your right foot forward and your left foot back behind your chair or block. We'll be twisting towards the right leg in revolve triangle. Take your rock step and then settle your legs into position. And inhale, open the arms. Remember, we're aiming for that long spine as we fold forward through Parsvottanasana. Stabilize with your pelvis, but draw the front hip crease back. Bring the left hand to your chair seat or your block and float the right shoulder blade onto your ribcage. And as you're ready, press down into the left hand to lift the right wing. Hug in the banks of your river from hip to hip. You built that strength and awareness in the outer hips. Feel into how your body supports the twist along the spine through the low lumbar. You can use your awareness of those muscles to find ways to even stabilize the spine more. This might include grounding your outer heel of your back foot to lift the inner arch so that you can lift through that inner thigh and pelvic floor. Fluid breath. Feeling into the pose. And then releasing the lifted wing and inhaling, reaching with the sky. Exhaling, hands to the heart, mountain pose. And then let's take the other side. Block to the right side of the mat, and we face the short side, stepping the left foot forward, right foot back in our rock step. So the left foot is pretty even with our prop, and the right foot is behind it. We'll be twisting towards the left leg. We inhale and reach skyward, grounding down through the legs and pelvis, a gentle lift to the pelvic floor, hinge forward over the stable legs. Bring the right hand to your chair seat or your block, and float the left wing onto the back body. Pause right here with your spine long out of the pelvis. And think, do I need to rearrange my back heel a little bit for safety in the knee? Lift the pelvic floor, lengthen the spine, and then float the left arm skyward as you root into the right arm. Feel how there may be a stretch in the outer hip of the right leg. Fluid breath. Long supported spine. Can you feel this pose anew today, different from the other times you've held this same pose? And then exhale. Release the lifted arm and float your arms skyward, stepping the feet together, hands to the heart, mountain pose. Releasing the arms, relaxing the fingers and palms. Pause in the standing mountain meditation. Feel into this forest of your body in the springtime. Can you feel the songs? And then let's come back to the floor. Move the chair out of the way. Please bring in your blocks. And a pillow if you'd like it. And let yourself just lay gently down. Head onto the pillow. And let your palms of your feet come together and your knees open. Tilt the blocks in to support your legs like you're creating a little nest at your pelvis. Bring the hands onto the low belly and breathe deep into this lower belly, into first and second chakras. Invite the breath up to third chakra. Invite your energy to rest into this nest in the pelvis. And invite the breath deep into the belly. And then relax your wings however they feel most comfortable. And relax your jaw and your eyes. Relax the muscles of your face. Recognize the you that is here right now. With whatever and whoever is here with you. See if you can allow awareness of all that is here. And can you hold it all with nurturing awareness? It became difficult to tell just what it was that was singing. It was the thrush for sure, but it seemed not a single thrush, but himself and all his brothers, and also the trees around them, as well as the gliding long-tailed clouds in the perfectly blue sky. All of them were singing. And of course, yes, so it seemed, so was I. Once you've been there, you're there forever. Listen, everyone has a chance. Mary Oliver. Gently bring energy back into your fingers and your toes. And listening into that inner landscape, move in whatever ways your body asks for, sings for. Then gently begin to bring yourselves back up to a comfortable seat. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. May we be present with ourselves and each other. And may we be open to the song. Namaste. Thank you. Thanks for coming to class.
Tracy, I have to run, but thank you.
You're so welcome, Katie.